The Marvel Cinematic Universe is about to change in a big way. It's not going to be a super flashy, obvious change, but it will fundamentally alter the way this world operates. At least I think so. Marvel's new She-Hulk series is dropping any day now, and from the pre-released footage we've seen, from the details we've heard, it looks to me like this new show may well be taking a pretty novel approach to world building, and the way it's going to introduce its new characters. Or rather, the way it won't. Now that probably doesn't make a great deal of sense, so I'm gonna do my best to break down what I mean here, but first, this video is more speculative than analytical, which is a little rare for this channel, and it does mean that it's entirely possible She-Hulk comes out, does none of this, and makes me look like a bit of a silly sausage. But I'm gonna take that risk, because at the very least, I think the ideas we'll discuss here will be somewhat relevant to the show, and bearing them in mind while we watch it, whatever route She-Hulk takes, will make for a more interesting viewing experience. It's also probably worth saying, if you want to go into She-Hulk completely blind and unspoiled, I'd avoid this video, but I won't really be talking about anything that hasn't been revealed in the trailers. Also, I'm sorry if my voice sounds a bit off today. I had a pretty heavy weekend and I'm still recovering a little. So with those disclaimers out of the way, let's start by talking about what we know so far about the dramatis personae of She-Hulk. Outside of Jennifer Walters, the titular She-Hulk herself, we already know about a fair few of the characters who will be showing up across the 9 episodes. For instance, in terms of established characters, we know that Jen's cousin Bruce, He-Hulk if you will, is gonna play a big part, and we know we'll also be seeing Wong and Abomination. We also know Daredevil's going to play a role, which I'm extremely excited to see, and there's even rumors that Kristen Ritter's Jessica Jones might end up making an appearance. It's looking like these 2 characters will be getting some sort of soft reboot, a fresh start of sorts that doesn't necessarily explicitly contradict their Netflix stories, but either way, not counting the kinda blink and you'll miss it No Way Home cameo, this is the first time they're showing up in the MCU, if you define MCU strictly as the films and the Disney Plus shows. And no matter how you define it, this is the first real exposure a lot of viewers will have to them. On top of that, we also know that there's quite a few utterly new characters appearing. Titania, Manbull, Frogman, El Aguila, and the whole Wrecking Crew. That's quite a lot of new characters, all of whom are typically powered or enhanced in some way, and those are just the ones we know about. I'd be extremely surprised if there weren't any more little surprises in store for us. Discussing these new additions, showrunner Jessica Gao has said the following. I wouldn't call them cameos because it's more that there are some characters that we pulled from the comics that we've never seen in the MCU. That was very fun and exciting, being able to bring new characters now into the Marvel Universe. That was very exciting for us and I hope it delights people. That quote doesn't sound like something you'd say if you were just introducing comic book characters to the MCU in the same way other projects have done for the past 15 years. To me, Gao's words suggest a new approach. But what is this new approach? One thing that's always separated the MCU from the comics, and from other animated or live-action Marvel adaptations, is that when it comes to powered characters, they never really come out of nowhere. We usually tend to get an origin story of some kind, regardless of whether the character's a major hero or a comparatively minor villain. It's a general rule, not an absolute one, but this does tend to be the way Marvel Studios does things. The only real exception that springs to mind is the Illuminati in the Multiverse of Madness, but they can largely be understood in the same way as Daredevil or Jessica Jones. Soft reboots of characters Marvel's already introduced, in depth, in auxiliary mediums. I think this tendency is a leftover from the relatively grounded early days of this universe. Back in Phase 1, the MCU was very much our world, with a few minor differences. Superheroes, superpowers were rare and remarkable. The first Thor film even went to pains to make it clear that don't worry, there was a rational, scientific explanation for all the Norse-themed space wizardry. In the franchise's more recent years, this groundedness has faded somewhat, but it's still almost exclusively the case that when a new powered character is introduced, time is spent explaining how and why they're superhuman. The MCU hasn't yet reached the critical mass of powered characters common in various animated projects and print universes, after which the audience is assumed to be on board with the idea that heroes and villains with special abilities are commonplace enough to just turn up and exist in the world. After which explanations and origins are only delved into if they're relevant to the story being told. Or at least, the MCU hasn't reached this point yet, as of early August 2022. I think She-Hulk will change this. She-Hulk is comprised of 9 30-ish minute episodes. That's roughly the same length as a lot of these Disney Plus projects, and even if Jessica Jones doesn't show up, even if they skip any exposition or origin story redux for Daredevil, even if there's no surprise cameos or new characters beyond those teased in the trailers, that's still a lot of new faces, and not a great deal of screen time with which to introduce them all. Especially since the show's protagonist and her own heroic origins need establishing themselves. Now, is it possible that She-Hulk will give some amount of background and origin exposition, however brief, to all of these new characters? Sure. Given the irreverent tone common to She-Hulk stories in print, I could even see the show riffing on the Suicide Squad type approach and giving little title cards and canned backstory montages to all of Jen's clients and adversaries. But I feel pretty confident predicting that even if something like this does happen, the depth of these introductions will pale in comparison to those of pretty much any other powered character we've seen in these projects beforehand. And given the nature of this show, a legal comedy allegedly, I think it's fairly likely that maybe once an episode or so, we'll meet one of these new comic book D-listers in court. The joke will be, essentially, look at this colourful, nonsensical nobody. Look at the way they just show up. And partially, the joke will be, isn't this incongruous with the detailed and serious explanations we're familiar with for why superheroes exist? Maybe it won't go down exactly like that, but either way, I think we're in for a flood of new faces, mostly one-and-done characters who are going to be dropped in our lap, more or less fully formed. And I think that's going to establish a precedent with the potential to fundamentally alter this franchise. She-Hulk has the potential to alter the way audiences understand this world, to have them finally stop seeing the MCU as our world but tweaked. The assumption after She-Hulk will be that this is a wider, more comic booky world where heroes and villains can just appear, can exist without any real explanation needed. She-Hulk can stretch the viewership's suspension of disbelief to new levels, because if the MCU is a world where Frogman can just turn up one day, then it's a world where, say, future Avengers or future minor villains with funky powers can also just be pulled into this setting from the comic books. Setup can be skipped. Avengers the Kang Dynasty could now cold open with 3D Man on the team. If this does happen, I think you could call this a quantum leap forward in the MCU's world building, in width, if not in depth, and I think She-Hulk's going to play a crucial role in adjusting audience expectations to this new dynamic of adaptation. Here's the thing though, I'm saying I think this shift is coming. I'm not necessarily saying that's a good thing, because there are downsides to the MCU's ever-lessening sense of realism. Patreon supporters will already know that I feel the MCU's divorce from the real limits the power and resonance of its storytelling. And even apart from that, from a narrower, less holistic perspective, thinking purely about She-Hulk itself, advanced world building does not a good show make. She-Hulk could develop this setting, this world in fantastic ways, but if the plot isn't engaging, if the characterization isn't compelling, if the themes aren't intriguing and explored in thoughtful ways, that'd be an L in my book. But hey, look at the track record. She-Hulk's probably going to be pretty decent at worst, so let's keep an open mind. And let's keep this world-building paradigm shift in mind while we watch it, because if utilized wisely, this change could lead to a richer backdrop against which our main characters' stories can play out. Not just in this show, but in every show and movie the franchise develops in the future. So let's see how this plays out. As always, I want to thank my Patreon supporters on screen now, especially Kevin Douglas and Ian Fifield. Cheers for watching, everyone, and come back in a few days for maybe a non-superhero video.